Thom Hartmann here on the news. You need to know this. A little-known provision in the most recent appropriation bill, which passed through Congress last week, is a big deal for biotech giant Monsanto and GMO opponents. The so-called Monsanto Protection Act shields the maker of genetically modified seeds from being sued by consumers who claim they've been harmed by the products. On Tuesday, President Obama signed the spending bill into law, which means the controversial GMO provision will remain in place for at least 6 months until the government needs a new bill to fund its operations. Since its passage a week ago, more than 250,000 people have signed a petition opposing the measure, and activists have gathered outside the White House to protest. Opponents are expressing anger not only about the Monsanto Protection Act content, but also about the secretive way the legislation made its way into the final appropriations bill. Reports suggest that many members of Congress are not even aware the provision was slipped into the spending bill. The International Business Times reported on the story, noting, "The message it sends is that corporations can get around consumer safety protections if they get Congress on their side. Furthermore, it sets a precedent that suggests that court challenges are a privilege, not a right." End of quote. It should be a right to know what's in our food, and it should be a right to hold companies liable when they poison consumers. We must ensure that the Monsanto Protection Act is overturned. Call Congress and tell them to repeal this provision now. In screwed news, lawmakers in Kansas are close to passing a law calling for people infected with AIDS or HIV to be quarantined. House Bill 2183, which has already cleared the Kansas State Senate, reverses a 1988 law which banned the quarantine of people infected with HIV/AIDS. If this new law passes, HIV and AIDS patients could have their movements in that state restricted and could be isolated from the general population. State Senator Marcy Francisco tried unsuccessfully to amend the legislation so that it would include an exemption for people living with HIV and AIDS. Michael Weinstein, president of the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, said the legislation is reminiscent of the earliest, darkest days of the AIDS epidemic. He said, "At best, it is short-sighted of Kansas legislators to reject Senator Francisco's amendment. It either shows how little they understand about HIV and how it's transmitted, or it shows that they want the ability to quarantine people and or discriminate against them." End of quote. This is a prime example of why we need more sex education in states like Kansas. Perhaps then lawmakers would know that HIV and AIDS are not spread through casual contact. This is the worst type of discriminatory law imaginable, and Kansas lawmakers should be ashamed. And the best of the rest of the news, yesterday organized people defeated organized money in New York. Despite strong opposition from Mayor Michael Bloomberg and his corporate buddies, activists and labor unions won legislation that ensures New Yorkers get paid time off when they get sick. As of next year, employers with more than 20 employees must provide full-time workers with at least 5 compensated sick days, and eventually the law will also apply to companies with 15 workers or more. Some activists expressed disappointment that the sick leave law didn't go farther to protect workers, but advocates say it represents a symbolic victory. Sherry Lewant of A Better Balance said, "It's not perfect, but it's very important to get this done in New York. Every worker in every state should be allowed to take time off when they get sick without fear of losing their job or part of their income. And consumers who visit stores and restaurants shouldn't have to be exposed to illness because an employee couldn't afford to stay home." This is a great step for workers' rights in New York City. Now let's fight to make this law a reality for workers around our nation. When Obamacare became law, restaurant owners were some of the loudest critics of that health care law. Executives from several national restaurant chains complained the law would increase operating costs, forcing them to reduce hours and lay off employees. But it turns out Obamacare will only cost employers about 20% of their original estimates. Previously, Wendy's CFO Steve Hare predicted that each of the chain's 5,800 U.S. locations would see a yearly cost increase of $25,000. However, earlier this month at an investment conference, Hare reduced the cost estimate by 80% because some employees would be covered under the Medicaid expansion and others will choose to decline coverage. With cost estimates declining, many business owners have stopped criticizing the law. Executives of several major retailers, which already offer employees health coverage, have also said Obamacare will have little or no impact on their operating expenses. It's shameful that business owners whined about providing benefits at the very same time many are seeing record profits. And since cost estimates have reduced dramatically, business leaders should be just as loud in endorsing Obamacare now as they were in condemning it before. And finally, the director of media relations for the New York Mets says his tombstone will read, "Professional Butt Dialer." Jay Horowitz has more than 1,000 phone numbers programmed into his cell phone, and he routinely pocket dials players, friends, and business associates. First baseman Ike Davis says he has personally been butt dialed close to 150 times. Apparently, technology is not a strong suit for the 67-year-old, but Met players say they can't help but laugh it off. In an interview with the Today Show, third baseman Dave Wright said, "There's nobody who cares more about the New York Mets. There's nobody who works as hard. Ultimately, you always walk away with a smile on your face." Many of us have experienced a butt dial or two, but nobody has explained the phenomenon like Jay Horowitz. When asked about the repeated pocket dials, Mr. Horowitz said, "I have no explanation. I keep the phone in my front pocket. I jiggle it, and there you go." Enough said. And that's the way it is today, Friday, March 29th, 2013. I'm Thom Hartmann on the news.